Hi guys, Aka here. So, Haakon Haraldsson, the latest mounted general to be introduced to Evony. And full disclosure, this was a bit of a tough name for me to pronounce, so let the butchery of names begin. Anyway, we want to take a look at Haraldsson, see how good of a general he is, and in the age of super cav generals, see how well he stacks up against some of the other heavy hitters that we have in the game. Alrighty, let's jump right in. So, we have Haraldsson here, and quick glance, his base stats, they look okay. Alright, so for his main skill, he gets 50% attack, 40% defense, and 50% HP. Now, the important thing to note about Haraldsson is he is a when leading the army general. Okay? So, good stuff, for those that are interested in it. All right. Now, we look at his specialties. Okay? And going through all of his specialties and putting all the stats together, Haraldsson comes out with a total of 80% attack, 70% defense, and 10% HP. Okay? So, aside from the HP, otherwise decent stats on that specialty. Now, if we go to his ascension and we put all of the stats in his ascension together, we get 45% attack, 40% defense, and 40% HP. Alrighty. Now, if we put all of his stats together, Haraldsson comes out with a total of 175% attack, 150% defense, and 100% HP. So, 100 plus across the board, not bad. Looks pretty decent. Alright, so let's put him up against a few of the other main cav generals that we have in the game. So, as you see here, these are probably the main three generals that you'll be comparing Haraldsson to. And on the stats, he's doing pretty okay. He's not quite the highest on attack. His defense is actually pretty good. He's got the highest defense. And his HP, it's okay. All right? Now, as we know, defense is probably not the most important stat for Cavs, but having a high defense isn't going to hurt you. So, yeah, looking at this comparison, he's not the best. Okay? But he's not bad. Now, I'm sure some of you guys will be interested in this. So let's switch out Monk and let's put in Napoleon for the comparison. And as you can see, even against Napoleon, he's doing okay. Haraldsson has got better HP, but Napoleon has better attack and they're pretty close on the defense. So from a stats perspective, he's not the best, but he's not bad. Okay, now, of course, age of super cav generals, we need to look at march size. So here we have the march sizes of the generals that we are comparing him to. And he's got pretty decent march size. Like, he's matching Marco Polo for march size. Okay, and that's of course including his covenant. He's not quite at the level of Cheng Yaojin, but he's got more march size than Napoleon. And in that line, he's got more march size than Monk. So, from a march size perspective, he's actually doing pretty good. All in all, based on this comparison, the stats and the march size, Haraldsson is pretty decent. So, yeah. Now, let's go a bit further and let's take a look at his covenant. So, here we have his covenant, and these are the three generals that he needs for his covenant. Maybe Brad Pitt over here would probably be the hardest one for you to get. Inside joke. Harold III might probably be the most difficult one for you to get. But all in all, the generals are pretty fair. Now, if we look at his covenant stats, they're pretty okay, pretty standard stuff. The one that really jumps out at you is this second one. Okay, in rally mounted troop HP, plus 10%. And that's a gold stat. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And it's also one of the very early covenants. So you could probably get that one just having Haraldsson and one or two of the other generals. Now, of course, that is great. Even if you don't plan on using Haraldsson, you would want to get at least one copy of him so that you can get this extra 10% in rally mounted HP. Now, aside from that, his Covenant is pretty okay. Now, we want to look at his compatibility, okay? And unfortunately, I don't have Haraldsson at this time, so I had to ask a friend who has him so that I could check him out for this comparison. So thank you very much, Cyber, for letting me, get the stuff to check out this guy. Okay, now in terms of skill books, as you can see here, we check him out with the mounted skill book. He can take it. That's great. We check him out with mounted defense. He's good on that. And he's also good on mounted HP. And for good measure, we check him out with march size. He's all good. So Haraldsson can take all the mounted skill books that we have in the game. That's awesome. Now, let's go ahead and check his compatibility with other generals. All right, so we have him here. And the first general that we're going to look at, Polygenus. Okay? Haraldsson is compatible with Polygenus. That's great. Now, moving on, he's also compatible with Zhao Yun, which is cool. Haraldsson is compatible with George Costa, which is an interesting one, particularly for those march size folks. And he's also compatible with Lorden. So, yeah, that's good. I don't know how many people still use Lorden, but I'm sure there are a few of you out there. So yeah, Haraldsson works with Lorden. Now, we move on to the big leagues. And the first general that we're going to check, Hestia. So, Haraldsson is compatible with Hestia. That's great. In addition to that, he's also compatible with Napoleon. Okay? Pretty decent combination. Then, he's compatible with Cheng Yaojin, which is a very strong combination. And he's also compatible with Marco Polo. So, Haraldsson's compatibility is looking very good. Unfortunately, and here is the bit of the bummer, he is not compatible with Washington Prime. But based on all of that, Haraldsson has got pretty good compatibility with most of the CAV generals that we have in the game. If you know of any prominent combinations that he works with or he doesn't work with, please feel free to drop them down in the comments. Now, we've been looking at Haraldsson as the main general. Let's take a look at what he can do as an assistant. So here we have his stats as an assistant compared to the other generals. And also remember that he's when leading the army. So yeah, based on that, he's got pretty good stats. Okay? For an assistant, he has got pretty decent stats. In fact, I would like to argue that based on the stats alone, he might actually be the best CAV assistant that we have in the game. However, since we're talking about CAV assistants, he needs to go head to head with Washington Prime. So, as we can see, Haraldsson has got 15% more attack than Washington Prime, quite a bit more defense than Washington Prime does, but Washington Prime is beating him out on the HP. In addition to that, Washington Prime gets 2% more march size than Haraldsson does as an assistant. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Now, based on everything that we have seen, my opinion of Haraldsson is he's a decent general. Okay? He's a pretty decent general. He's not the best, but he's good. Of course, if you didn't get any of the other top CAV generals in the game, and now you have a chance to get Haraldsson, all right, yeah, that's fine. You can go for him. In my opinion, though, he would probably be best used as an assistant. And I say that because he's got decent stats, he's got pretty decent march size as an assistant, and he's when leading the army. Okay? Now, most people have probably been looking at Washington Prime as their main CAV assistant. And in my opinion, if you already have Washington Prime done up as your assistant, you've done specialties, you've done Covenant, all that kind of stuff, I don't think there's any point in you switching to Haraldsson. Now, if you haven't and you're considering which one to go between the two, in my opinion, it's pretty close. Okay? Haraldsson is slightly better on the stats. Washington Prime has better HP and slightly better march size. So, yeah, it really depends on where you're at in the game. For the most part, it's a toss-up between the two when you're looking at better assistants. I would probably tend more to Washington Prime as an assistant, but if you picked Haraldsson, you'd still be doing pretty okay. Now, obviously, aside from using him as the main assistant, the other thing that Haraldsson will probably be very good for is reinforcing. And by reinforcing, I mean reinforcing keeps. So if you needed a second calf general to use for reinforcing, Haraldsson is probably the guy to go for. I think that's where he would actually be very strong. But again, remember, even if you don't intend on using him, you need to get with this covenant, okay? Because that in-rally mounted HP 10% is nothing to sneeze at. So if you can, try to grab at least one copy of the guy. Now, as I've said, Haraldsson is one of those generals that you would definitely want to get at least one copy of him because of his covenant. But, of course, he's not the only general like that. And if you're looking for ways to get some easy buffs through covenants, then you can check out this video here, which lists out some of the generals whose covenant you should definitely do for those easy buffs. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much. Aka signing out.